Introduction. The moment you realize something is wrong. The quiet feeling you can no longer ignore. You wake up before your alarm again, not because you are motivated, but because your body has memorized obligation. For years, it has learned the rhythm of deadlines, meetings, and showing up on time for someone else's priorities. You tell yourself this is discipline, responsibility, and maturity. You remind yourself that millions of people would love to have your stability. But as you lie there staring at the ceiling, something feels off in a way you cannot easily explain. You are doing everything you were told to do, yet the feeling of progress never fully arrives. This is not burnout, and it is not failure. This is the first moment you start sensing that the rules you followed may not lead where you thought they would. Today is not about quitting your job or rejecting hard work. Today is about seeing clearly what has been quietly shaping your financial life all along. Part 1. Comfort without freedom. The illusion of security created by predictable income. A salary feels safe because it arrives on a schedule you can rely on. It creates the comforting belief that as long as you keep showing up, your life will remain stable. Because you know when money is coming in, you stop paying close attention to how quickly it disappears. This is where the system becomes clever rather than cruel. Your income does not arrive as a single choice you get to consciously direct. Instead, it is divided into obligations before you ever experience it as money. Rent, food, transportation, subscriptions, utilities, and insurance quietly claim their share. Each expense feels reasonable on its own, so your mind never raises an alarm. You do not feel deprived, so you assume you are doing well. You have comfort, convenience, and consistency, which prevents deeper questions from forming. This is how you can feel successful while building nothing that actually belongs to you. Part 2. Why more money rarely changes the outcome. How income growth fuels lifestyle expansion. Most people believe the solution to financial pressure is earning more money. A raise promises relief, and a promotion feels like validation for your effort. For a brief moment, your stress decreases and your confidence increases. Then something subtle happens without you noticing it. Your lifestyle expands to meet your new income almost automatically. You move to a better place because you finally can. You upgrade your car because it feels justified now. You allow yourself conveniences you previously avoided. None of these choices are reckless or irresponsible. They are logical responses to a culture that defines progress as upgrading. But each upgrade increases the minimum income required to keep your life functioning. What felt like freedom quietly becomes dependency on a higher paycheck. Part 3. The golden handcuffs effect. When success removes your ability to walk away. At some point, you realize leaving your job is no longer a real option. Not because you hate the work, but because your lifestyle depends on your continued compliance. Your expenses assume your presence at that desk every day. Your commitments assume you will keep earning at the same or higher level. You are no longer choosing the job freely. You are maintaining it out of necessity. Each raise tightens the grip instead of loosening it. Each new responsibility adds weight instead of flexibility. You are not lazy, ungrateful, or lacking ambition. You are experiencing what happens when motion is mistaken for progress. Working harder keeps the machine running, but it does not move you closer to freedom. Part 4. Why financial stress stays the same. The invisible adaptation of obligations. One of the most confusing realities of modern work is that stress often remains unchanged as income increases. The numbers get larger, but the pressure feels familiar. This happens because obligations adapt faster than relief. Higher income brings higher fixed costs and more people relying on your consistency. Unexpected expenses appear right after moments of financial relief. A raise feels like a win until life absorbs it completely. This is why people earning vastly different salaries often report similar anxiety. The system ensures that required expenses eventually catch up. You stay busy maintaining instead of building. And because nothing ever collapses, you are encouraged to believe this state is normal. Part 5. The real definition of freedom. How long you can live without permission. Your level of freedom is not determined by how impressive your income sounds. It is determined by how long you could survive if that income stopped. This question cuts through all illusions immediately. If you had no paycheck starting tomorrow, how many months could you realistically sustain your life? If the answer is less than 3, your life depends on permission rather than choice. When income is mandatory, risk becomes dangerous instead of strategic. You cannot explore new ideas because all resources are already allocated. Dependence quietly removes your ability to say no. And without the ability to say no, freedom becomes theoretical rather than real. Part 6. Understanding the system without blame. Seeing the structure instead of judging yourself. This is not about blaming individuals or institutions. The system does not force decisions through violence or threats. It guides behavior through incentives and psychology. Education leads to debt, which creates urgency. Urgency leads to employment, which encourages lifestyle expansion. Lifestyle expansion creates permanent need, and need creates obedience. Once you recognize this chain, the pressure you felt begins to make sense. You were not weak. You were responding logically to the environment around you. Awareness does not immediately change your situation, but it changes your direction. Part 7. The shift that actually creates power. Building the gap between income and expenses. Wealth is often confused with income, but they are fundamentally different things. Income exists only as long as you continue working. Wealth remains even when you stop. The most powerful financial tool is not earning more, but preserving a gap. The gap between what you earn and what you spend creates breathing room. This breathing room becomes savings, and savings become leverage. Keeping expenses intentionally lower than income feels uncomfortable at first. That discomfort exists because you were trained to expand, not to protect. But protection creates stability, and stability creates options. Assets built from the gap work quietly in the background on your behalf. Part 8. Optionality as the ultimate goal. The ability to choose without fear. The goal is not to quit your job impulsively or reject structure entirely. The goal is to know that you could leave if you needed to. When you build several months of financial runway, your psychology changes. You negotiate with confidence instead of desperation. You tolerate less and think further ahead. You stop making decisions based purely on short-term survival. Optionality gives you invisible power in every conversation. That power allows you to align your actions with your values rather than your fears. Conclusion. Comfort is not the same as freedom, the choice that becomes visible once you understand the system. The salary trap is real, but it is subtle and comfortable. It convinces you that predictability equals security and that security equals freedom. In reality, comfort can exist inside a very well-designed cage. Freedom requires space, flexibility, and the ability to walk away. The people who escape this trap are not smarter or luckier than you. They simply chose awareness over convenience. They stopped asking how to earn more and started asking why everything left. Once you see the system clearly, you regain the power to choose. Comfort will always be available. Freedom requires intention. Freedom does not begin when you earn more. It begins the moment you stop needing permission to live your own life.